Hey there guys, welcome back to Potential Perfect. My name's Dolapo, but you already knew that because you're so darn perfect. So, RPGs, role-playing games, one of the oldest genres in gaming. Today's RPGs are worlds different than the original incarnations. What was once a series of titles intended to evoke imagination, filled with numbers and reading, has evolved into one of the most popular forms of gaming in the East and the West. Series like Pokemon, Final Fantasy, Elder Scrolls, and Borderlands are just as different as they are well-known. Yo bro, didn't you already do a video on RPGs? Like, not too long ago? Well, yes, I did, but this one is different. I want to talk about RPGs as a whole. So today I'm going to talk about my very diverse history with the entire genre. Let's get grinding. That came out so wrong. So there are a few different types of RPGs. Today I'm going to talk about my experience with turn-based, action, FPS RPGs. Wow, that's a lot of acronyms. First up is action RPGs. There are a lot of these now. I think it has a lot to do with people wanting to retain RPG aesthetics, but realizing that not everyone has the patience for turn-based combat. Here's the thing, I like both, but I have a much better track record of completing action-based ones. Recently, I began playing Final Fantasy 15. While I don't remember this one being that big a point of contention at release, people tend to talk a lot of crap about this one now, and I don't really get it. I mean, I'm sure it has something to do with the fact that I haven't played any of the numbered ones outside of the GBA titles, but judging this game on its own, I think it's fine. My main problem with it is that it suffers from main protagonist personality disorder. This is a disease I invented to describe when the main character in any medium is comparatively the worst or most boring character when next to the side characters. Think Arnold from Hey Arnold or Carly from iCarly. Noctis is just so boring. He's brooding for the sake of brooding, and in moments when I think he should be happy, he scowls. When things get intense, he seems indifferent. He just never feels three-dimensional. That's not someone I want to root for. But the other guys are freaking great. The story overall is kind of meh. It started off really cool, and then it seemed to fizzle out for me. I also started playing the first Kingdom Hearts for the first time, and that one's really slow. It's like really, really slow. It might be the slowest exposition I've ever seen in a video game, ever. Borderlands, the FPS RPG guide. This franchise answers the age-old question of what if we made an RPG for the kid in the back of the class who likes to draw on his desk? Well, they did it all right. A franchise that I got into way later than everyone else. For someone who isn't really into these games, I've started them all, including Tales, which I mean, doesn't make a lot of sense. A lot of it has to do with the theme of the games. Mechanically, it's a lot of fun. Honestly, if someone were to make a game like this without the theme from Borderlands, I'd be totally about it. Why do I have an issue with the theme? Well, it's just that everyone is weird. And if everyone is weird, no one is weird. This leads to a lot of obvious jokes, and I can't get behind a game that's trying a tad too hard to be funny. What's more, the character that I'm supposed to hate the most, Claptrap, is the one I find even remotely, like, hilarious. I don't know, he's really weird. He's funny though. I do find it strange that FPS RPGs aren't as popular a subgenre as the other ones. I definitely think that we should have more of them. I know that Destiny and The Division and Wildlands are all shooter RPGs, but all of those are still MMO-ish. Cyberpunk looks like it might remedy this a little bit, but they still seem a little niche. I'd like for an Eastern company to put one out. I think that'd be pretty slick. Either way, I expect to see more of these, and I am very excited by that prospect. Valkyria Chronicles and strategy RPGs. I picked up the 4th number title on sale despite me wanting to play this game ever since its reveal. Unfortunately, time got away from me and I forgot all about it. After picking it up on Amazon, I finally got to play it, and this game, like many strategy RPGs, is like many strategy RPGs. It's all about managing positions and units in a way that provides the fastest win with the fewest casualties. Games like Final Fantasy Tactics, Fire Emblem, and Mercenary Sagas Chronicles. What sets this game apart, though, is that it refuses to be fantasy-based, which I find so refreshing. What's more, it also offers action RPG elements. Once a character is finished moving about the battlefield, you can aim the character's weapon at an enemy and fire it. This makes me feel quite a bit more involved. Story-wise, it's a game about war. Certain aesthetics within the game lead you to believe the game will be a lot lighter than it actually will be. While I think that the game could have really benefited from an M rating, I still value some of the creative choices within the game. It just felt like some of the heavier moments were softened because the artists couldn't commit to a gruesome setting. That said, I guess I should go back to Fire Emblem for a bit. I have never beaten one of these games, but my goodness, what I did play was a good time. There's something scary about games with permadeath, but it really does feel good when you pull a character away from the brink of death. It adds a lot of weight to each move you make. They now have modes in the newer versions that do away with this, and I still think that's fine. The more people that get to play these games, the better. While I won't say that Fire Emblem has the best stories, I think they do enough to make you care. Lastly, back to turn-based. Arguably the most popular RPG genre. I've been into these games for quite some time. Starting with Pokemon. Now I know I may be a 90s baby, but that doesn't mean I didn't get to experience the video game version of the Star Wars fan split, Red, Blue, and Yellow. Now these games were pretty good. I've never really been the biggest fan of Generation 1. I do, however, feel as though the franchise isn't as strong as it once was. And I don't just mean sales. It just seems like a lot of other franchises within the genre have made much larger leaps than Pokemon. This may be associated with the frequency in which they put these games out. You know, when you put out games constantly, it's harder to see the differences between them, and they seem less drastic. These games are all about collecting and trading Pokemon, a simple concept that makes for one of the most accessible RPG franchises I've ever seen. The only generation I haven't lost hours of time to belongs to X and Y. I can't say for sure why this is, but I do like some of the decisions they've made in the newer games. Things like ditching HMs are great moves forward, but following Pokemon disappearing seems like a strange omission. I don't know. They've made it very clear that this franchise is aimed at children, and they don't intend to change that. I refuse to add any more fuel to this fire, so let's move on. The reason why I want to do this video is because I just finished one of the most legendary RPGs of all time, Mother 3. If you aren't familiar with the franchise, you know those kids from Super Smash Bros. That yell PK Thunder? Yeah, it's that franchise. I'm super excited to talk about this one. This game is super deep. It takes a lot of things about turn-based combat that I don't really like and fixes them. Random encounters don't exist here. What's more, the combat system, while turn-based, has a small optional action element in the rhythm system. Timing your A presses with the battle music adds additional damage to your enemies. This really helps you appreciate the music within the game. There are a few games in which the music is like directly tied to the combat, so it's really cool. But all of that said, the story is one of the it's one of the ones for the books. I mean, I refuse to spoil it for you, but it may have been one of the most heavy-handed tales I've ever experienced in any medium, all the while still having moments of lightness that you'll remember just as much. I can finally see why people want this title released in the West. Anyone who has wanted to play this game at this point has already done it through emulation, and they still want it released over here. That should tell you something. I will say at this point, I can't really tell that Nintendo will ever release it over here, but we did get the first Earthbound localized, so it's not impossible. Play this one. Seriously, play it now. Do it. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. Sometimes I experience something awesome and I must share it. Mother 3 was just something profound. I know that Western audiences have softened when it comes to RPGs, and we've seen Eastern RPGs do really well here, be it Persona, Fire Emblem, or even Pokemon. I'm very excited to keep playing more RPGs. It's a genre that hasn't gotten the most love from me in the past, but I'm ready to keep playing. And if you have any games that you think I absolutely must play, let me know. Let me know down there. What's your favorite? What should I be playing? Keep in mind, your boy likes a good story, so it better have a good story. I don't know why I'm doing this. This has nothing to do with story. Yeah. Thanks again, and keep grinding. Stay perfect.